citizenship test. The third citizenship test is now assigned. The link is there. You guys should still have your login information. I'll address that in a second. So most of you have taken the first and second ones. Make sure you get in there and take the third one. That is due, I think, next Tuesday, April 27th. And so log in, take a look at that. Any questions on the assignments? Once, twice, no, you guys are great. You know what you're doing. And we got 7 weeks left, guys. 7 weeks here, Mark. Pretty good, right? That's not too bad. Not too bad. All right. Let's take a look at a couple of notes real quick. All right, Zoom tutoring, you guys know that. Fourth marking period, we are into the fourth marking period. As a result of that, the new policy, which has the school policy all year long, any late work is a 0. I told you guys I'm going to enforce that for the fourth marking period, just to make sure I don't end up grading 38,000 assignments in June. So please stay on top of your stuff. Sending an email after the due date is not acceptable. If you're going to have an emergency, shoot off an email right away. Don't wait until the day after it's due and then send me an email saying you were working all weekend. I'm sorry, but I had a job in high school as well. Typically, you get your schedule about a week ahead of time. If you know you're working all weekend, send me an email then, right? You guys are young adults. Act like it. Right? Any questions on that stuff? No? Okay. Right. All right. The citizenship tests, as I said, just to kind of remind you guys, they're 25 points each for the practice test. You get 25 points just for doing the practice test. Doesn't matter what your grade on it is. I just want to see that you completed them. So those are 25 points a pop. The final test is 50 points, right? That will be, so I assigned the third test, that's in there now. The final test is going to be the week after that. So that one will be worth 50 points, and that one's going to be grade dependent. You must pass that for course credit. Again, this is a Mrs. Becker thing. This is a charter thing. It's got nothing to do with me. Although, you know, I kind of enjoy the citizenship tests. It's a little bit of geography, a little history, a little government in there. That's my kind of thing. But I don't know about you guys. So make sure we're working on that. Does anybody still need login info? I think just about everybody, at least everybody on Zoom here is good with that in this class. Going once, twice. Okay, I'll assume everybody is good. I've entered the grades for the first and second citizenship test. So there's a couple people that have not completed those. You know who you are. If you decide to finish those I will take late. That's fine. I'm not worried about those. It's the regular assignments that I'm talking about. If you finish the first or second citizenship test, please shoot me an email so I know to go in and check it. This is not like Google Classroom where it alerts me that you finished it. So just let me know. The third practice test, as I said, is assigned. Get in there and get that done. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Just sharing information here. All right. As I said, Unit 7, we're talking about political participation. Your Unit 7 exam is going to be next week. So that's what we'll focus on. We will go over the teacher scored portion on Tuesday. So next time I see you guys for class after today on Tuesday, we'll go over that teacher scored portion. I'll kind of help you out, give you some notes to get you started on the short answers and the essay at the bottom there, so that makes your life a little bit easier. So, don't rush to get that done or anything. As soon as I assign it, you can wait on that, and we'll talk about it on Tuesday. Everybody good with that? All right. Yada yada, what are you playing? I couldn't see that. Yeah, that was not. It was a white screen. Oh, a white screen. Okay. All right. That's not much of a game. I'm still working on Ghosts of Tsushima. Yeah. It's slow going. It's slow going when you got a kid. I get about 20 minutes a day if I'm lucky, and usually it's 9:30 at night, and I'm ready for bed. So still working on that. All right. I did want to touch on a couple current events before we get to our Kahoot game. Just a couple of things that caught my eye over the past week since the last time we had class. The first one deals with violence in America. I want to ask you guys real quick before I show you the headline that jumped out at me. What areas in the United States, urban, rural, and suburban, have the highest rates of violent crime. Now, just to make sure we all know what we're talking about, can someone explain to me the difference between urban, rural, and suburban? What do those words mean? Urban, rural, suburban?
Urban is like a city. Like the rural is like almost like big plains and like grass in like the country, and then like suburban is like nice neighborhoods.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, Stephen just laid it out. I don't know if you guys could hear him. Cameron, do you want to chime in?
I was just going to say, like, urban areas would have high amounts of population density, suburban areas would have medium levels of population density, and rural areas would have low amounts of population density.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's exactly what Stephen said as well, pretty much. Same idea, right? Urban areas, they're going to be your cities, right? Places like Allentown or Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or New York. Urban are your cities. Rural areas is going to be like your farm country, right? Out in the middle of nowhere, cornfields, that kind of thing. And then suburban is kind of like a blend. It's kind of where the cities become the rural areas where you have, like Stephen said, your nice neighborhoods, that kind of thing, right? Your shopping malls and all that, right? So which of those areas do we think have the highest rates of violent crime? Urban, right? Stephen shouted out. I don't know if you guys, Julie or Yadiel, I can see you. Can you guys hear Stephen when he responds to a question? Okay, I just wanted to check. I don't know how good this microphone is here. So Stephen said urban, right? Your cities are often going to have your highest rates of violent crime. For a number of reasons. There's a lot of poverty and that kind of thing, a lot of homelessness, a lot of drug use in those areas, right? So all of those things contribute to violent crime. And I do want to make that distinction between violent crime and non-violent crime, right? What would be an example of non-violent crime?
Credit card fraud.
Credit card fraud, Stephen said, right? Credit card fraud would be non-violent crime, right? As opposed to a violent crime, which would be like murder, assault, robbery, rape, those kinds of things, right? And we should make a distinction between those types of things. They're two different types of criminals, right? So the places with our highest rates of violent crime are often going to be urban areas. Just out of curiosity, which party do you think controls most of those areas? Those urban areas with the highest rates of violent crime. Are they typically run by Democrats or Republicans? I think someone put the chat in. Democrats, Joshua says, right? Democrats, absolutely. If we look at this map here, actually, I don't know if you guys can see that too well at home, right? This is a map of the 2020 election, the breakdown by county, right? So the blue means they voted for which party, Democrat or Republican?
Democrat.
Blue means they voted for Democrat, right? So if we look at the map, and I don't know if you guys can see it at home, right? If we look like over here in California, right, all this blue, we've got San Francisco, we've got Los Angeles down here. If we look up at Washington, right there's Seattle, over here is Portland. If we go down to Texas even, this little blue is Dallas, this little blue is Houston, Miami, then we start working our way up the coast, right? We got Washington, D.C., here's Philadelphia, here's New York, here's Boston and Massachusetts, out to Michigan. This blue spot right here is Detroit. Over in Illinois, this blue spot right here is Chicago, right? So those major cities are often controlled by Democrats. Right? And again, there's a lot of factors that go into that, why urban people tend to vote Democrat. We're not talking about that now. But at least for the past 70 years or so, urban areas have been primarily controlled by Democrats. Into that, why urban people tend to vote Democrat. We're not talking about that now. But at least for the past 70 years or so, urban areas have been primarily controlled by Democrats. So I saw this headline, especially with all of the violence taking place. Jeremy, you with me? All the violence and shootings that have been taking place. Trump came out and said most of the shootings are taking place in Democrat-controlled areas, right? He's claiming that violence is taking place in Democrat-controlled areas. So here's the Washington Post headline, right? The Washington Post headline says, Trump keeps claiming that the most dangerous cities in America are all run by Democrats. They aren't, right? That's the Washington Post headline. They aren't. Trump is wrong, right? Because everything Trump says is wrong. Trump could never be right, according to our media. However, if we look down here at a breakdown of these cities, right? This first one is based strictly on the mayor, right? So they're looking at who's the mayor. Is the mayor of these cities a Democrat or a Republican? So if we look at the cities with the most violent crime, right now when we talk about the most violent crime, they're just taking all the violent crime and adding it up, right? So obviously New York is on top of the list, primarily because New York has the most people, so they're going to have the most crime, followed by Los Angeles, which is the second biggest city, Chicago, the third biggest city, Houston, the fourth, right? And it just keeps going down like that. If we take a look at the 20 cities with the most violent crime, how many of those cities are controlled by Republicans?
Almost all of them except for like 2 or 1, that is.
What color is the blue here? Is that Democrat or Republican?
Democrat.
Blue is Democrat, right? So how many of these cities are controlled by Republicans?
Oh, only 1.
One, right? One of the most violent cities in the country is controlled by Republicans. If we look at the violent crime per capita, so per 10,000 residents. So the second graph right here, it doesn't matter how many people are in the city. It's based on 10,000, per 10,000 residents. So, a city like New York is going to have a whole lot of violent crime, but they got 8 million people. So it's not as widespread, perhaps, as Memphis. Memphis is the most violent city in the United States of America, by per capita. And again, if we look at this chart, how many of these cities are controlled by Republicans?
Or
You see any red there?
no.
Was it right?
No.
Oh, you said Republican?
Republicans,
Oh,
controlled by
so
Republicans, right? So none of these are controlled by Republicans. The two gray ones up here, and then the gray one down here for Springfield, Missouri, these are independents. So the mayor is neither a Republican or a Democrat. They're independent, right? But if we look at these graphs right here, based on the amount of violent crime, was Trump's statement correct or is it false?
Correct.
He's right, right? He's right. He's absolutely right. Statistically speaking, the most dangerous cities in the U.S. are all run by Democrats. But the Washington Post doesn't want to acknowledge that. So I thought that was interesting. Any questions, comments on that? Once, twice. Joshua, how you doing? All right, fabulous. All right. There's one more article I wanted to take a look at. Because again, I hate the media. I absolutely hate the media. If you have not picked up on it, all they do is lie to us nonstop, right? Biden nears 100-day mark with strong approval, positive rating for vaccine rollout. This is conducted by Pew Research. Pew Research is supposedly an independent organization. However, they do skew liberal. This is from April 15th, so just last week, right? They did a poll. Pew Research, what they do is they call a lot of people and they ask them questions and they try to get public opinion, right? How does the public feel about so-and-so or whatever's going on, that kind of thing. So here they're saying 100 days he's been in office, a little over 3 months with strong approval, okay? If we go down here to this first chart, right, his job approval rate is at 59%, 59%, which is better than just about everybody except Obama and Reagan at this point in his term. And you can see Trump down there, 39%, right? He was obviously not a very popular president, right? So 59%. Biden must be doing pretty good, right? Right? Obviously, everybody loves what Biden does. However, I'm just going to scroll through this to save us a little time. Is Biden a Republican or a Democrat?
Democrat.
Biden's a Democrat, right? And 59% of the people polled say Biden is doing really well. So that's awesome, right? Everybody must think Biden's doing great. However, if we go to the last page of this this poll, right, and we look at the methodology of it, we're going to slide down here. Find it here. All right. If we look at the people that were actually polled, right? How many of the people polled were Democrats?
3,000.
Over 3,000. How many of the people polled were Republicans?
1,700.
Less than 2,000. Is that an even sample size?
No.
No, absolutely not. Are Democrats going to be more likely to say Biden's doing well?
Yeah.
100%. So what we should get, if we want an accurate reflection, since the United States is pretty much 50% Republican, 50% Democrat, how should we be polling? 50% Republican, 50% Democrat, right? It's real easy to skew the results on this stuff when you want to just only sample Democrats, right? Almost twice as many, almost 3,400 Democrats would be literally twice as many Republicans in this poll, right? And Biden still only gets his 59%, right? So again, I just wanted to kind of illustrate some of the media bias, how they can, they can make things look real good. They can make things look, Biden's doing great. Everybody thinks Biden's doing great. But unless you're willing to go all the way to page 7, right, the last page of the report, you would never know that they had skewed the results so much, right? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Right. You guys are smart. You got to watch for this stuff. They're trying to trick you. Not buy it. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? Fabulous. Get your phones out. Let's play a little citizenship Kahoot. All right, the way we're going to play this today, like I said, I'm trying to load you guys up with extra credit for the 4th marking period here so that we can all hopefully have a nice, easy June. What I'll do is if you play the game, just for playing the game, I'm going to give you 5 points extra credit as long as your name is on my scoreboard at the end. And then if you finish in the top three scores, I'll give you 10 points extra credit. That's basically a homework pass. Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. All right. I don't know if we're missing anybody. What do we got here? 6, 12, 13. Oh, lost one. That's unfortunate. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. There we go. And again, these are all questions I took off some of the sample citizenship tests from that exact same website. So maybe you'll see these. Maybe you won't. I don't know how they do this. I don't know how many questions they have. They might have thousands of questions. Who knows? All right, here we go. Question 1. Which document is considered the supreme here in the United States? Which of those 4 documents is top dog? Very good. Just about everybody got that one. The Constitution. The Declaration of Independence is really more of a philosophical document, right? The Declaration of Independence kind of just says, these are the rights of men. Men have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Government's job is to protect those rights. If the government does not protect those rights, we should abolish that government and create a new one. That's what the Declaration says. The Constitution really lays out the structure of the government and how our government is supposed to function and the different powers that each branch has and all that kind of stuff. The Constitution is absolutely the supreme law of the land. Question 2. Which of the following rights is not protected by the First Amendment? Which of those 4 rights is not protected by the First Amendment? We should all get this one right in this class. I've had this question on here probably 8 times at this point. Still getting it wrong in some of my other classes, but that's all right. That's all right. Keep working on it. Good job. Everybody got that one. Right to bear arms. What amendment does that come from? Right to bear arms?
This third. The third?
Oh.
The second?
Second one,
Yeah.
second one, right? That is the Second Amendment. There we go. Julie got two fingers up. Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, right? Got the Second Amendment to protect First Amendment. Question 3. The amendment process is an example of federalism because it requires cooperation between what 2 groups? Right? The amendment process, if we want to change the Constitution, add an amendment. All right, 27 amendments. Why is that an example of federalism? Nice, good. Very good. Most of you got that one. The national and state governments have to cooperate. In order to pass an amendment, Congress has to propose it. So that's the federal government, the national government, Congress. And then the states, 3/4 of the states, which is 37 out of 50 at this point, would have to approve the amendment. Right? So it's a difficult process. That's why we've only got 27. But if we want to change the Constitution, there is a process, there's a method of doing that. Right? Very good. Legislative and executive branches, that's more of a separation of powers type issue. Right? Look at that, the air Mars on top, and she's taking a test for me. Look at that. Which state is represented by number 2 on the map? Oh, Julie, I like that face. Right? Which state is number 2 up there? Those of you at home, you're out of luck here. My students in the classroom have an unfair advantage looking at the map.
I got it wrong.
You have the
Running
map
out of time
right
here, though.
I'm missing Utah.
Utah, right? That was
I
Utah.
didn't click it in time.
Oh.
No.
I could.
Utah was up there.
Utah was really on the top of my
Arkansas.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I love maps, guys.
I didn't click it in time. I'm frustrated with that.
Julie's on top now. Very good. Which of the following principles prevents one branch of government from becoming too powerful? Right? These things were built into the Constitution. We didn't want one branch becoming too powerful. We didn't want, the executive to be in charge of everything. We split up all of the responsibilities. Okay? So which of those prevents one branch? Very good. Checks and balances. Right. So, for example, Congress passes a law. If the president doesn't like it, what can the president do?
Veto.
He can veto that law, right? So that's an example of checks and balances. One branch can kind of limit the power of the other 2 branches. And there's all kinds of those built in there.
I swear, none of these questions were on my test.
How many senators are in the U.S. Senate? All right, how many senators we got? In Congress, we have the Senate and the House of Representatives.
I had it wrong.
Right, 2 different chambers there.
Damn, I think I got this wrong too.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Very good, 100, right? There are 2 senators per state, 2 senators per state. We have 50 states, so 50 times 2 gives us 100 senators. In the House of Representatives, now in the House of Representatives, it's based on population. So for example, California has the highest population. They have the most representatives in the House, all the way down to little Wyoming, which has the smallest population, so they have the fewest representatives. In the House of Representatives, 435 representatives. So if you add them together, that gives us 535 total people in Congress, and then the 50 states there. But yep, 100 senators, 2 per state. Good job, good job. Which of the following people can introduce a bill in Congress? We talked a little bit about the legislative process. Okay? First step is to introduce the bill. You got to introduce it, right? So who's allowed to do that?
I don't know what I clicked on it. I'm not even clicking the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Oh, all the above. Law, you picked that one. A member of Congress. Only someone in Congress can introduce a bill. Now, the president absolutely is going to have influence, and they're going to get along with people in Congress. So, for example, Obamacare, right? Obama was in charge pretty much of writing that bill, or his staff was anyway. Obviously, Obama didn't write a 2,000-page document there by himself. to do then is he's got to get somebody in Congress to actually introduce it. Right? Stephen here could write a bill. He could write a law that says, I want to have school year round, right? School is great. But he's got to get somebody in Congress to officially introduce that bill. That was a tough one, apparently. Which letter represents the mountain time zone? Another map. Julie likes the maps. Right? Which one of those is the mountain time zone?
Oh, I can't even see it. That's tough. Thank you.
Very good. 5, you got that one. So-called because of the Rocky Mountains, right? The Rocky Mountains run through that time zone. All the way to the left was the Pacific time zone near California. Then you had the Mountain time zone going through the Rockies.
I didn't know that was
Yeah.
To the right of that was the Central time zone. And then all the way on the East Coast was the Eastern time zone. That's where we're at, right? So each of those time zones is separated by an hour. So, for example, right, if we're watching a football game, if the football game starts at 5 o'clock here in Pennsylvania, it starts at 2 o'clock over in California. That's why we have the Super Bowl. Like the Super Bowl doesn't start till 6 p.m. on a Sunday because you got to watch out for the people in California. They want to watch too, and they don't want to watch it at 10 in the morning. Which of the following, which of these was a major philosophy expressed in the Declaration? I kind of alluded to this earlier. Expressed in the Declaration of Independence. Very good. The natural rights of citizens, right? Our rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Government's job is to protect those rights. Since then, government has decided to do a lot more than that. Not always pretty good. Which of the following was not an Axis power during World War II?
Oh,
Which of the following was not an Axis power? Just to give you a heads up, we were the Allied power, so we were the good guys. Well, I guess, depending on who you ask. So we were the Allied power. Axis powers were the bad guys. Right? That's who we fought.
what?
Yeah, the Soviet Union was on our side during World War II.
Yeah.
Germany, Italy, and Japan were the bad guys, right? We dropped the 2 bombs on Japan. Germany is obviously the Nazis, and then Italy was that guy Benito Mussolini, the fascists. Right? Yeah, the Soviet Union was on our side.
I play mad Call of Duty. I should know this.
Yeah, I'll make him come back. Question 11. The area in red was the site of which war?
No.
I ain't gonna help you with this one here, Mark.
Oh, my eyes are nothing like.
I can't even choose a thing on my thing.
Just so you guys, there he goes, the world map. You got 4 seconds to pass your seat. Put an answer in.
I can't even choose.
Oh, it's the Green Wood.
There we go. That was the Korean
Oh my
War.
God.
I chose that. It said I got a
Korean
room.
War.
Mister, it didn't let me go in my phone. I was spamming the blue button.
That is unfortunate.
Oh my
You
God.
should have taken the phone with you. That would have been good.
I know.
The Vietnam War, Vietnam was a little bit south. I thought I'd get a few of you on that one. Iraq, I don't even want to know who picked Iraq, man. Right? That's like, oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm kind of frustrated right now.
Question 12. Which of these wars was fought in the 1800s? Going back to your history classes.
Oh,
Which of those wars was fought in the 1800s?
my thing is that's not. I can't. Oh, never mind. That was my stuff for a second.
That should be correct.
Very good. This
You chose World War One?
The rest of those were in the 1900s. World War I was 1917 to 1920. World War II was 1941 to 1945, and then the Korean War was 1952 to 1955. Right? And then the Spanish American War was literally like 1898. So it was at the very end of the 1800s. Julie's holding that spot on top. 3 questions left. At which event are you most likely to hear the Star Spangled Banner?
What?
The Star Spangled Banner. Here, Mara, that is the national anthem.
I can't even choose. My thing is like slow. It still says correct from the last question.
Uh,
National anthem.
'Cause-
There we go.